The town that banished its drunks. On the shadow of the collectives. A town famed across the province for its sobriety took a vote one summer to expel every drunk over the wall. The vote had been long in coming. The town had been a sober place for many generations, sober, that is, by comparison with its neighbors, but it had always had its drunks. There had been the old man at the corner of the cobbler's street, who sang loudly on summer evenings. There had been the woman who lived above the bakery, who wept at funerals more than the family of the deceased. There had been the two brothers who ran the inn, who drank as much as they sold, and who told, on slow nights, the kinds of stories that made the priest uncomfortable. The mayor had been campaigning for the expulsion for 3 years. He had argued in the council that the drunks were holding the town back. The town, he said, had every quality of a great town: industry, learning, devotion, except for these few who would not, by their habits, allow it to become the model it could be. He had been persuasive. The priest, who in younger years had drunk with the brothers at the inn, had been persuaded. The schoolmaster, who had taught the children of the singing old man, had been persuaded. The vote, when it came, was nearly unanimous. The drunks were led to the gate on a morning in late summer. There were perhaps 30 of them. They were given a sack of bread each, a coat each, and the road. Some wept. Some, with a kind of dignity the sober had not credited them with, did not. The old man at the corner of the cobbler's street did not sing. The woman above the bakery did not weep, though it would have been, of any time in her life, the obvious moment. The brothers from the inn embraced their last patrons, walked through the gate, and did not look back. The gate closed behind them. The mayor, the priest, and the schoolmaster all spoke at the closing. They spoke of a clean town, an orderly town, a town that would now be a model to the province. The crowd applauded. There was a banquet that evening at which water and small beer were served. The wine vanished from the taverns within a month. The taverns themselves closed within a year for lack of trade. The mayor in the first year considered this a triumph. He had not in his 3-year campaign expected the taverns to close. He had expected them to remain serving water as polite social gatherings. They did not. The water was not, it turned out, what people had been going to the tavern for. The taverns went out of business. The buildings stood empty. The town used them in time for storage. So did the laughter in the streets. This was the second loss, and it was less easily explained. The children had laughed before. After the expulsion, they laughed less. They did not, exactly, become unhappy children. The town was prosperous, the schools were good, the families were attentive, but they laughed less. The old men in the square no longer told stories that the children gathered to hear. The women at the bakery no longer made the small jokes they had made. So did the songs at the harvest. There had been a tradition, in the town, of singing during the gathering of the wheat. The songs had been old, in some cases very old, with words none of the singers fully understood. The songs had been led, for decades, by the old man at the corner of the cobbler's street, who had not, when he had sung at harvests, been drunk. The singing had been a thing he did sober, but it had been in some way connected to the singing he had done drunk in the evenings, and after he was gone, no one in the town remembered how to begin the songs. The first attempt at the harvest, the autumn after the expulsion, had been embarrassing. By the 3rd year, no one was trying. So did the willingness to weep at funerals. The townsmen now stood at the graveside with dry eyes. It had become a point of pride. Dry eyes were what sober men had. The widows, who had previously been carried home from their husbands' funerals by the weeping woman from above the bakery, were now allowed to walk home alone. The weeping woman had wept for everyone in her time. Without her, the town discovered that it had outsourced its grief to one woman, and that with her gone, it did not easily do its own weeping. The mayor noticed after some years that something was wrong. He could not name it. The town was clean. The town was orderly. The town was a model. Scholars from other provinces visited. Newspapers wrote articles. The mayor was invited to speak at the capital about the town's success in moral reform. He gave the speech. It was well received, but the children no longer ran in the streets. The marriages were quiet. The grave were dug without ceremony. The mayor's own wife, in the 3rd year after the expulsion, had stopped laughing in his presence. He had not at first noticed. He noticed in the 7th year because his daughter married a man from another town, and at the wedding the man's family laughed loudly and the mayor's family did not. He went to the wall alone one evening in his old age. He stood with his hand against the stones. "Wall," he said, "what has happened to my town?" The wall took some time to answer. The wall was, by its nature, slow. The wall was made of stones that had been quarried in the time of the mayor's grandfather, and the wall did not in any hurry speak. But the wall did at last speak. "You mistook the wine for the drinker," said the wall. "What? The drinker was carrying the wine for you. The drinker was carrying the laughter for you. The drinker was carrying the weeping for you. The drinker was carrying the willingness to sing songs whose words could not be fully explained. The drinker was, in some sense, the part of the town that was willing to be a fool, willing to be undignified, willing to be broken-hearted in front of other men. You expelled him because he embarrassed you. The embarrassment is gone, so is everything that came with it. You have not learned to be drunk on your own behalf. You will not learn. The town will be quiet for a long time." "Can I open the gate?" the wall considered. "The drunks are dead," said the wall. "Were old men and old women when you expelled them. They went out into the world. They did not by and large prosper. They were not the kind of people who prosper. Some of them found other towns that would have them and lived out modest lives there. Most died on the road in ditches of cold or hunger or shame. You can open the gate. There are no drunks to come back. You can, however, raise your children to be the drunks the town will need. You can teach them to sing. You can teach them to weep. You can teach them to drink, in moderation, the wine that carries laughter. The town will not, even then, become what it was. The songs are forgotten. The old man's voice is forgotten, but your grandchildren perhaps may laugh in the streets again, perhaps not. The work is long. You did in one morning a damage that will take 3 generations to undo. You are 70, you will not yourself see the undoing. The mayor did not open the gate. He could not bring himself to. He had been the architect of the closing. He could not be, in his old age, the one who admitted he had been wrong. He went home. He sat in his quiet kitchen. His wife, who had not laughed in 20 years, brought him soup. He died in office. The town was famous for its sobriety for another 200 years. It was visited by scholars who wrote about it. It was a model to the province. It was also, in some way none of its inhabitants could quite name, haunted by an absence that had no shape. The children, in some generations, ran in the streets. In other generations, they did not. The songs at the harvest were never relearned. The wall is, in some province, still standing. The drunks are, in some province, still dead. The drunks you expelled were carrying for you. What you would not carry, the wall keeps them out. It also keeps the laughter out, the weeping out, the singing out, a town that cannot be drunk on its own. Behalf is a dry town in every season, the damage done in one morning takes 3 generations to undo. The mayor who closed the gate will not see the undoing. He will only see, in his old age, the absence of a laughter he cannot name.